Welcome to Drivers Talk Radio, hosted by automotive expert and championship-winning race car driver Rick Titus. Join Rick, co-host Jay Dalton, and their team for informative and entertaining discussions geared for automotive enthusiasts and consumers alike. Enjoy in-depth interviews with industry leaders and influencers. Now, originating from its studio headquarters inside Shelby American in Las Vegas, it's time for Drivers Talk Radio and Rick Titus.
Welcome to Drivers Talk. My name is Jay Dalton, sitting in for our host, Rick Titus, who is again away on vacation this week. But joining us, we have a powerhouse of automotive journalism. Let's start at the far end with our friend and Roadtest editor, BJ Killeen. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm official now. I got my name badge and everything. So
Can you believe that?
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me,
Are you
Jay.
in the phone book?
No, I'm not that official.
Exactly right. To my immediate left is Cam Benty. Welcome back to Drivers Talk, Cam.
Thank you for having me.
Cam is a veteran of the automotive journalism field, having worked for more magazines than I can count, and a few manufacturers too, including
Could never hold down a job.
Competition Cams and SEMA, and quite a few official positions. So we're honored that he can join us, along with Spencer Crick, who always makes us sound great on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Spencer. We're broadcasting today from the Shelby Heritage Center, which is located along with the Shelby production facilities at the end of the strip past Mandalay Bay. Free tours every day. Wonderful gift shop, and you can come and see not only the history of Shelby, starting with the very first Cobra to what is being produced today. Right through the windows of that factory, we can see Cobras being built, Mustangs being modified. In fact, you can hear them testing one right now if you listen carefully. We're really in a working factory, and occasionally the dyno is started up and you hear 1,000 horsepower being run and tested at a given time. We're at the end of the strip. Again, free tours. If you want to come and join us, we're around usually early in the week doing this broadcast. But today is interesting because we are talking about a very significant product later on in the show. You've driven here today in the BJ?
Volvo XC90, the brand new redesigned Volvo XC90, which is basically the showcase for what's to come from Volvo.
Indeed, and it's not just an XC90, it's their hybrid version.
The T8.
The T8, which is a pretty expensive vehicle. We're going to go into this thoroughly, including some information from the people at Volvo themselves. But I want to ask you something with regards to advanced technology. I'd like both Cam's opinion and BJ's. Ford recently announced that they would be incorporating wearable technology into some of their cars. This would be heartbeat, this would be health information, blood pressure and so forth, and how they would coordinate this with various semi-autonomous feature. Cam, are they going too far? Are they stepping over the line?
Absolutely. But of course, if I'm having a coronary while I'm driving the car, I guess that's probably something I'd like to know. But in terms of a full...
I think you'll know.
I think I probably will. I guess if I drive a Shelby, I'll have one anyway. But anyway, so the bottom line is I think that's way over the top. I think that's going to get them into areas that they really don't need to be dealing with.
BJ, your opinion?
I agree too. I think people are tracked enough as it is. And, I know voluntarily you wear a Fitbit if you want to. But why does anybody want to be tracked? It's enough. I mean, at what point are they going to say, okay, well, we know you're in the car and we've got a camera pointed at you and we know that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, so we're going to turn the car off. And, it's just, I understand it, but I don't know. What do you think, Spencer?
I think eventually they're just going to add a hand in there, so whenever you don't use your blink or something, it'll just slap you across the face or something.
I'm okay with that one. I think that's fine.
That's coming soon. That's known as the slap option.
Wake up.
Yes,
There you go.
Exactly.
It's like,
To quote Ford, wearable technology integrated with the vehicle allows for more accurate biometric data to stream continuously and alert active driver assist systems to become more sensitive if the driver shows signs of compromised health or awareness. Well, that's just fine, except is that being stored in the cloud?
no more sex in the car, obviously, because
Well-
your heart rate's going to shoot right up, and there you go. I don't
Maybe it
know.
logs it. Maybe it logs it. You go like, okay, 1.
The biometrics are for Ford. I hate to say it, but they have so much data on their drivers now. This is just giving them more data. So, okay, when you drive a Mustang and you're going 70, your heart rate goes up. So we have proof that when you drive a Mustang, you're having more fun because your heart rate goes up. Which is true anyway, but...
I do like the ones where it does tell you when you're weary. I drove a Prius the other day, and I was driving up on the I-5, and it's exciting on that I-5.
Yeah.
So I was on the I-5, and it just said, a little cup of coffee comes up, and I wish it would come out of the door. So it was just like, here you go. But one of those deals where it says, okay, you're getting tired, and it was, and it was that I thought was very good.
Did you pull over?
No.
Okay, there you go.
I think the driver awareness part of that phrase that you said, Jay, is probably the most poignant thing. With all this distracted driving and all the focus there, it probably something to, again, more need for the slapper.
No.
If you go to look at your cell phone, just whack.
Cleaning out the gene pool, that's what I'm about.
slapper.
So I don't care, So. All right.
The question is, how much data do they need on you or about you?
Thank you.
And I think that's over the line myself. But let's see where that goes. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't hear much more about that. It wouldn't surprise me if that just sort of goes away. But speaking of data, J.D. Powers was recently sold again.
Yep.
This time for $1.1 billion in cash. It was sold to a group out of London, primarily backed by Chinese money.
Yep.
Any comments about that?
Yep. Every Chinese car from now on is going to have amazing IQS.
Explain what IQS.
Initial quality study and sales satisfaction. And we know the Chinese vehicles, China doesn't have NHTSA testing. They don't have testing for safety. They don't have rollover testing. So if they came here and tried to test the cars, they would never pass. So they wouldn't be made, allowed to be produced or sold here. And now that they own J.D. Power, look at there, man, the great cars. They're all
good,
great
good to
cars.
own the media, When you own the media, you own it all. There's a lot of movies off of that. Usually James Bond involved, but the bottom line is, you got a situation that you're right. That is a scary deal. And those cars. I was in China in last October, and there aren't even any Chinese cars over there, to be honest with you. The ones I saw were pretty much imports, so they don't like them over there.
Yeah, because they're not safe. No. And it's just scary. But I'm not saying that J.D. Power is going to do this. I'm just saying
you're going with the conspiracy theory.
Did.
Oh, okay.
Let's put that.
All right. Do they have too much power in the marketplace with these initial quality surveys? Because, as you know, every dealership is linked life and death on these J.D. Power results.
Well, the J.D. Power surveys, though, they do talk to consumers. It's not like they're sitting in a room making them up. They actually talk to consumers. And consumers, a lot of things that they hear carry a lot of weight for quality and sales satisfaction, CSI. And, the dealers take them extremely seriously. So, I don't know if they carry too much weight, but
I think they've been really well received in the past. I think that J.D. Powers has a great name, and I think that you're right. The dealers do connect up really well with that. So I'm hoping that integrity will maintain. So.
I hope so too.
I understand that some dealer allotments come from their QSI scores.
There's a lot of things tied to QSI and customer satisfaction and sales satisfaction. J.D. Power does a lot. They do the airline industry. It's not just cars. J.D. Power does a lot of different things.
Fast food. They do all kinds of different things. Yeah, it's quite a conglomerate there.
It is.
We will see how their sale impacts what's going on. We're watching very closely to see if there's any changes. But
hey, I have a news piece.
Yes, please.
Are you going to just take the whole news hour? Or
No,
what? I'm channeling Rick. So
I'm going to lean
okay.
over on yours. Yes, thank you. Rick, did you see how she handled that?
So we all know that there was two fairly good-sized earthquakes in Japan.
Yeah.
And this has actually been really bad news for Toyota and for Lexus especially.
Lexus especially. Now, I've got to tell you, I did mention this last
week.
You
did, okay.
That there was an interruption. But Lexus, tell us how it impacts
Lexus is the one's
them.
worse because the two vehicles that it hurts most is the RX and the NX, two of their most popular vehicles that are selling here. And they own the market. Lexus owns the RX midsize luxury SUV segment. And by having to stop production on this, it's going to hurt them like you wouldn't believe, not just because of sales numbers, but because of where they are in the marketplace. But it gives an opportunity for Cadillac and Lincoln and all the other brands, Buick, to step up and probably step in. And I don't know if they're going to take over number one position, but it's going to give them a huge opportunity to let customers see what else is out there on the market instead of just going right to the Lexus standby. So this is interesting how it's going to affect Lexus in certain ways, but this is another way to look at this earthquake because of the supply chain.
Sure, the void that happens from that.
You
That makes
bet.
good sense. That's a really fine car, the RX in particular.
They are. They're
Yeah.
very nice cars. But so Lincoln makes a very nice MKX and a very nice MKC. Buick makes a wonderful Enclave. Everybody in Cadillac's got their new XT5 coming out. So there's a lot of vehicles that are coming out that are great.
The XT5 for Cadillac, I mean, this is a make it or break it moment
You bet.
that category.
Well, I think, Cadillac has done very well for a long time now. I mean, it was a situation that I used to feel that GM made two good cars, Cadillac and Corvette, and that was it. And I really didn't look at much else after that. But that is a shame because the Cadillac is a really fine car. I mean, it's got so many of the current things that consumers are looking for. So, I'm kind of mixed on that because I'd like them to maybe take a look at the Cadillac. But I am sorry about what happened with the RX. That is a shame.
I am too. But if the manufacturer's domestic and the other ones don't take advantage of this opportunity where there's a giant hole now, they're crazy. So they got to figure out a way to start getting more Lexus people to come into their dealerships to take a look at their competitive product.
How would you do that? I mean, you're an expert in this field.
There's a lot of money being spent on how to do that.
On how to do that.
Yeah.
Let me explain to our audience. We're sitting here with somebody that is truly, deeply involved with how you do that, right? How you bring people into a dealership. Behind the scenes, Mrs. Killeen is highly sought after by a number of manufacturers to guide them along that path. So give us a hint. How would you do that in this moment when Lexus is showing a little vulnerability?
But unfortunately, these aren't things that can happen overnight. The last thing you want to do is start putting money on the hood of the vehicle because it discounts your vehicle. And so you can't do that. So they're thinking of other ways. For example, the Porsche Center that they're doing here. Lincoln is actually starting to do that. I believe some of the other manufacturers are. So you have a Tesla-like environment where you're not selling cars, but you're just showing how great your vehicle is. And so that's coming up fairly soon, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the future, called the Lincoln Experience Center. So this is how you get people to come in and experience what your brand is about without having any pressure of sales.
The premium experience. I think they've got a point. Yeah. They've really got a point. Hey, we better break for our AM, FM listeners. This is Driver's Talk, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Driver's Talk. My name is Jay Dalton, sitting in for Rick Titus. And joining us today, BJ Killeen, our Roadtest editor, Cam Benty, automotive journalist extraordinaire, and of course, Spencer Crick on the board. We have a special guest as we begin our conversation about Volvo. BJ Killeen, thank you for bringing over your friend from Volvo.
Yes, I only bring the best. And since we're spending most of the show talking about Volvo, I thought it only wise to bring somebody from Volvo on. And so I invited Russel Datz, and he's the national marketing manager, I believe. Is that correct, Russell? Or PR?
Media relations manager.
Media relations manager. So I've known Russell through numerous jobs, both his and mine. So when he went to Volvo, we're all excited because what's going on at Volvo now is really exciting. And I guess you can say they're kind of in the middle of a renaissance and a rebirth, or maybe at the start even. So Russell, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what's going on at Volvo right now?
Sure. Thanks, BJ. Great to be on with you. Yeah, Volvo is in the middle of a rebirth right now. We have a whole new product lineup coming. We're replacing everything in the portfolio in the next couple of years. And we're moving towards a very, I guess you can call it the eyebrow-raising strategy of a 2-liter 4-cylinder powertrain lineup that will only have one engine basically across all cars. And we're moving firmly with that, interestingly enough, into the luxury segment.
And you guys are doing a great job, by the way, because I just spent some time driving the XC90. I'm still driving it. And, of course, there's a T8 version, which is the plug-in hybrid version, and then there's also a gas version. But when Volvo first announced that they were building nothing but 4-cylinder engines, everybody, and like you said, Russell, eyebrow-raising. Everybody's like, really? You're only building 4 cylinders? Because there's still a lot of manufacturers who believe in 4-cylinder and turbocharging, but they're also building V6s and V8s, and some are even building V12. So there's a lot of manufacturers that really haven't figured out where they're going yet. But Volvo, You'll have to tell us, Russell, how long ago did Volvo decide that they were only going to do this? When did this all start?
This is a decision that was made by Lex Kersemakers, who at the time was the head of product strategy at Volvo. He's now the CEO of Volvo Car USA in Rockley, New Jersey. It's about 5 years ago that decision was made. And the reason for it was the need to be more responsible about the environment, the need to be more efficient with natural resources, and also to lower costs. We had 8 engine families up until now, and we've narrowed that down to 2, which is a huge cost savings, and we can pass that on to the customer in the form of luxury cars at a value price.
It's interesting because you say you've narrowed it down to 2 engines, but if you're going to only make one really predominant engine, you better make a good one. And so I know you can tell that they spent a lot of time thinking about this because the Drive-E engines that they're doing, the primary 4-cylinder is a combination of a turbocharger and a supercharger. And you don't see that from anybody else. You see turbocharging 4 cylinders, but you don't see the supercharging in that engine. So, Russell, tell us the logic behind putting the turbocharger with the supercharger together.
Sure. Depending on how technical the audience is, we can get into a lot of detail. But basically, turbochargers are very effective at high RPM, and superchargers are effective instantly. So what we do is we have a supercharger that forces air and fuel mixture into the engine at low RPMs, so you get that initial push right off the line. And then it disengages at about 4,000 RPM, and the turbocharger takes over. So there's no turbo lag. And what you end up with is a 2-liter engine with 316 horsepower. That's 158 horsepower per liter, which used to be 100 horsepower per liter was kind of the magic mark, and we've blown that out of the water. So you get V6 or even V8 performance out of a smaller compact engine that lightens things up. It makes things easier to work on. It's just easier all around. And to the driver, unless you open the hood, you really can't tell the difference.
And it is an absolutely brilliant engine strategy, Jay.
Russell, our audience is very technical. We don't shy away from anything on this show. May I ask you, is that supercharger freewheeling then after a certain RPM? Does it disengage off the front of the supercharger?
Yes, there's an electric clutch that disengages the supercharger. So there's no drag when it's not needed. It's only used when it's needed. And then the computer switches the induction path over to the supercharger path. And
let me ask, is that a variable vane turbocharger, or is it a less expensive, just fixed vane style?
I believe it is a fixed vane.
Okay, so that's another way to save a few bucks in the application of this. Did you guys?
Well, I don't want to say that sounds like we're cheaping out, but it's the proper application for the car.
Another part that makes Volvo so impressive, the new Volvos, is something called SPA, or Scalable Product Architecture. And this is what they're putting all their vehicles, it's going to be the basis for all their vehicles coming up. So, Russell, tell us a little bit about the SPA platforms.
Sure. The Scalable Product Architecture is a modular platform that can be changed in dimension, either lengthwise or widthwise. What we do, though, is we do fix the dash-to-axle ratio, because that keeps the proper proportion of the vehicles. And what that enables us to do is to develop multiple vehicles on one platform. And again, saving costs for manufacturer that we can pass on to the customer. So the XC90 is on this platform. The coming S90 luxury sedan is on that platform. And the replacements for the XC60 and S60 and V60 will be on that platform. So now you've got 5 vehicles on the same platform, basically, with a similar powertrain. And it works to, what we do is, the technical term is a different top hat, right? So we change what the vehicle looks like on the outside and what's appropriate for customers, but it's really a very similar platform underneath.
The XC90 is kind of starting the renaissance for the brand, and I know the 90's coming along, and I've seen that car. It's absolutely stunning. Can't wait to drive it. But the XC90 really is setting a precedent Because how many awards has this vehicle won? I mean, every time you turn around, it wins another award. It just won awards top 10 interiors. It won Automobiles All-Star. I mean, you can't count the amount of awards. And this is not just here, but this is internationally, correct, Russell?
Yeah, it's well over 110 awards globally. And that comes from a do or die attitude at Volvo. Everybody at Volvo, the thousands of people who worked at the company in Gothenburg and the plants around the world, knew that the $11 billion investment that the company's new owner, Geely Holdings, put into the company needed to be well spent. And if they didn't get the new lineup of vehicles right, there really wasn't much hope for the company to move forward. Because let's face it, Volvo was on the ropes for a while. I mean, there was some change in hands in terms of ownership. The product lineup had gotten long in the tooth, but it's apparent now that everybody aligned behind the new strategy and put out a product that is absolutely out of this world. It leapfrogged everything on the marketplace, and the media that have been bestowing all these awards on the vehicle, the fact that those awards have been awarded reflects that a good vehicle is a good vehicle, period.
Now, I've been to the factory in Gothenburg, and it's amazing what they can do, and their safety center and the crash testing. But you guys are going to start to build vehicles in the United States, correct?
Yes, we have a plant coming online by the end of 2018 is the target date, right outside of Charleston, South Carolina. So we're looking at hiring about 2,000 people there over the course of the life of the plant, or as we get started, I should say, and building, I think it's 100,000 cars there a year when we're at maximum capacity.
Russell, because of your SPA platform, does this mean that one line will be able to take any different kind of vehicles that you have on your SPA platform?
That's to be determined. Assembly plants these days, particularly when you build them from scratch, are they're flex plants, right? They're designed to build any number of different vehicles. What will end up being built there over the long term is to be determined.
Interesting. Is this a centrifugal supercharger that you're using in this case? Do you know what kind of supercharger?
I believe it's root style.
It is a root style. Interesting, with a four-cylinder. That's kind of an interesting technology. But I like the idea of the two together. That's pretty advanced.
The power is impressive. It's really amazing when you put them together.
And seamless, I might add. You don't know when one is starting and the other is stopping. Very impressive. Russell, can you elaborate? Is there any other manufacturer combining these two technologies together? I've never heard of it.
I'm not aware of any that are using it in current production vehicles. But this is the way forward. I mean, this is the way that we extract the most power from the most compact powertrain that we can. It's designed to be reliable. It's designed to be useful over the whole course of the torque range. I mean, you have a fairly substantial 7-passenger sport utility vehicle, all-wheel drive, that works. 0 to 60 times are impressive. I think we're in the sub 7-second category. It'll tow 5,000 pounds. It does very, very well.
That's impressive.
It's amazing. I'm sorry, Kim.
No,
the one other area I just wanted to get your opinion on and get some Volvo information on is the fact that, when Saab went away, everybody was sad, and we were hoping the same wouldn't happen to Volvo, and we're glad that, Volvo is doing the revitalization. But one area that Volvo was kind of in the middle on was luxury. Was it really a luxury brand? Was it a near luxury brand? And if you drive the new XC90, you'll see that they are not kidding around anymore about luxury. And real briefly, we only have about a minute left.
No, we don't have a minute
left.
left.
Well, we're out of time.
Russell, hang on just a second. We're going to go to station break and get the answer to this question. I have a couple more questions.
Okay, we'll be right back.
So we'll be right back
great.
with more Drivers Talk. Welcome back to Drivers Talk. My name is Jay Dalton with BJ Killeen, with Cam Benty, with Spencer Crick, and our special guest from Volvo, BJ.
Russel Datz.
Russell Datz, the media product manager, the media manager for Volvo cars. And You were just asking Russell a question about luxury.
Yeah, I was talking about luxury because, Volvo was they wanted to be in the luxury segment, but they were kind of more near luxury before. So they weren't right up there with BMW and all the other luxury brands at the top. But you get in the new XC90, and there is no question that there is luxury in this vehicle. I'm in the top-of-the-line Inscription model, and we'll talk about the vehicle in just a little bit, but I wanted to get Russell's take, because you've got an Auraforge crystal shift knob. I mean, this is you can't find this in anything else. This is luxury. So, Russell, talk a little bit about how important it is to actually play in the luxury segment and how you guys got there.
Sure. Well, you're right, BJ. We always were, or had been recently, this tweener brand, not quite luxury, not quite economy. And when some of those decisions were made of the way forward at Volvo, what were we going to do for the future? We decided that the luxury market is where we needed to be. From a business perspective, the margins are better. From a brand perspective, it's more prestigious. And in order to do that, in order to really convince people that Volvo could be a luxury player, we had to deliver. And you're referring to the XC90 T8 that you're driving, right, with the Inscription package, which is basically fully loaded. Napa leather, all the accoutrement, and yes, a genuine crystal shift knob, which I believe is the first application of real crystal in a car ever.
Wonderful.
Or at least a modern car. Maybe you might find something like that at Pebble Beach, but certainly not in the modern world.
Absolutely.
If your goal was luxury, Russell, you've absolutely hit it out of the park. I think if the other manufacturers aren't benchmarking this car, they're making a real mistake. Congratulations on, what is it, 150 awards now?
Over 110.
110
It changes daily.
awards.
They just keep getting more and more.
Including Motor Trend's SUV of the Year, the North American Automobile Show, Truck and SUV of the Year for 2016, Australia's Best New Vehicle, South Africa's Best New Vehicle. Man, enjoy it, Russell. This is it. This is the launch, isn't it, of Volvo in its next generation.
This is the launch. And just to add to that, there was always a question, too, about whether or not Volvo would be perceived as a luxury brand, accepted. There were some other brands that tried to go into the luxury category, but the general public would not accept that from the brand. The brand didn't demand it. We've been fortunate enough that Volvo has been accepted as a luxury brand among consumers. In fact, the percentage of people buying the upgraded cars, or the uprated cars, I should say, is exceeding that of the lower trim specs.
Wow.
So that got us a little bit off guard, but I think it speaks to the value of the brand as a luxury brand.
Well, congratulations. We're just so happy that Volvo is doing well. Can't wait to drive the S90 and see all the other vehicles that are coming off the SPA platform, because it really is going to be amazing.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I know Russell has to get to another meeting minutes from now. Thanks for making time for us, my friend, and congratulations to all the designers at Volvo who are now setting the standard that others are about to look very closely at for sure. Thanks, Russell. And thank you, Volvo, for supplying him for just a few moments on our broadcast. Now, if you could, I need to speak with you about luxury.
Okay.
About what defines luxury. And Cam, your opinions for what defines luxury. Because I had a very interesting moment with Volvo a few years ago. We were riding across Baja, California in a raised XC90 station wagon. And it was explained to me, we really want to go more for the performance market. And I said, well, Volvo's always been known for the safety market. In fact, I believe the originators of Volvo cars invented seatbelts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did. And on top of it, they shared it with everybody else. They didn't keep it. They opened up the patent and let everybody else have it.
But, so the question is, well, how do you transition between safety and then performance? And I think performance has transitioned into luxury now. And the answer that I got back was, safety you use once, and performance you use every day.
Right.
And now it's luxury that you feel every time. The luxury begins with this car. When you click the fob, it's different from any other fob I've ever seen. You click it on the side. It's beautiful. It's a leather fob. It's beautiful.
We got video.
Wonderful.
Show them.
Okay, here it goes. We're showing this to camera. Sorry, everybody who's watching us on podcast. I hope, Spencer, you can zoom in on that. We'll go a little bit closer on that. Nevertheless, what defines luxury? Cam?
I'll let Cam start.
When you're paying this kind of money for a vehicle, how do you?
I think it's everything. You talk about performance. Obviously, a vehicle that performs well, it's not going to. You're not going to get halfway into the intersection and have an issue with a stutter or a stumble or whatever. It's a combination of all these different things. It's a touch thing. It's a what are the things that you touch feel like, and what does the thing smell like? I mean, it's really throughout how things are packaged. When you step into the car, does the door shut solidly? I mean, we've gotten over a lot of the things that were problems in the past, but now we've got a situation where it's such a competitive market. I mean, it's got to be all these things, because any one thing can knock you down. You've got to have, like you say, performance has got to be there. But I think it's the interior appointments, because that's where you spend your time, that really purvey the luxury or not. I mean, it's really simple.
I'm going to agree with everything he said, but I'm going to take it a step further. It is all about the vehicle. If you can't produce a decent vehicle that has all the features that you're asking for, that's wonderful. The second half of this is the customer experience, because let's face it, BMW, Lexus, Lincoln, Cadillac, they're all making really, really good products. Volvo's in there, all making great products, and there's little subtleties that separate them. But the bottom line is, no matter which one of those vehicles you buy, you're going to be happy with it, because it's going to give you the luxury. How are you treated at the dealership? What are they doing to make you feel like a distinguished guest or customer? What is the dealership experience like? And I think that may make the difference, because if you're looking at 3 or 4 vehicles, but you're treated like a king here and you're treated as an ordinary person here, you're going to go to the one where you're treated better. So luxury cannot just be contained inside the vehicle. It's everything that has to do with the brand, with the dealership, and everything else along those lines.
Okay, so you're a large dealer. You're a Chevy dealer. You're a Ford dealer, dealing with customers all the way from Focus to Super Duty to, effectively, I'll exaggerate just a little bit, a Ford GT.
Okay.
Right?
Which it could be, yes.
I mean, it's
$4.5,
$450,000.
Yes.
They won't sell enough of them for it to matter, but ultimately you're dealing with a $20,000 customer all the way up to a loaded Super Duty is probably about $75,000 right now if you get the platinum package on it, and the diesel engines and so forth. That's a broad spectrum to cater to. Lexus considers every one of those customers special, don't they? They categorize them as special. Volvo has a much narrower field to contend with, and I think my contention is they will be able to do it better because their field is narrower.
Well, it just depends on how the company is coming at the problem and coming at the challenge. Let's put it this way. I know that Volvo is working at improving what's going on at the dealerships to make it a luxury experience, because the United States is different than a lot of the places, because you can't really dictate what the dealers do. All you can do is train them, hope that they follow the lead to get the customers in the dealership.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time at Galpin Motors up in, I guess they're in Van Nuys or
one of the biggest Ford dealerships.
Well, they are the biggest,
yeah.
And it's interesting because they've fixed the problem by having individual dealerships. You have your Aston Martin dealership, you have your Volvo dealership. Yeah. They actually have their own Ford Mustang dealership for just Mustangs.
Right.
So that's one way to do it. But you're absolutely right. It's all about the marketing. I mean, it's got to be a situation where the guy or the gal comes in and they really enjoy going to the dealership, because we're trying to get past that experience where people didn't want to go buy cars at all. Okay, so I think a lot of that has been overcome. But I watch what happens at Galpin. I mean, if you want to go in and buy an Aston Martin or a Lotus or a Volvo, which is in a similar kind of area, especially when they were part of Ford, but they still sell them. And my experience has been that there's a Starbucks, and they do the whole catering thing, and they whatever you need, they really do make it a really nice, very different than what we've experienced in the past. But But I see a lot of, they sell a lot of Fords, they sell a lot of Mazdas, same kind of thing, but taking a focus on that individual and making it not a painful experience.
Absolutely. And the truth is, you only get one chance because people aren't shopping they don't go car dealership anymore. They spend all their time online doing their shopping. And so when they finally narrow it down, they pick one dealership. And if you can't land that sale there, they're gone. They may even go to another brand as far as they're concerned because they used to go to 5 or 6 dealerships. They go to one now. And they're there because they know they want to buy that vehicle. So you pretty much got a sale already walking in the door. It's up to you to lose it at the dealership. So it's how you treat the customer. One of the reasons why Galpin is so successful, one of my very good friends is Brian Allen, who is, he's transitioned to a higher up position, but Galpin gets it. They've empowered their sales consultants to do something for the customer, and they can spend up to a certain amount of money, and it's a decent amount of money, without getting approval from anybody. So if I want to buy you lunch, Jay, as a sales consultant, I can do it. I don't have to go ask my sales manager, can I buy this guy lunch because he's been sitting here for 3 hours. I can do that. I can also get your car washed. I can get it. I mean, I have a certain amount of money that I can spend to make that customer experience great.
Right.
And to me, that's what luxury is about.
And they even have their own restaurant
on
premises.
And it's a good one.
What the heck.
Yeah.
Hey, we have to go to a break. We'll be right back for our last segment, and we're going to talk specifically about the Volvo XC90. We're going to talk about the specifications of the car. Thanks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Driver's Talk. My name is Jay Dalton, sitting in for our host, Rick Titus. Joining me today, my friend Cam Benty, my friend BJ Killeen, Spencer Crick behind the board.
I'm not a friend.
You are very much, you're my beer drinking friend, my friend.
Shelby beer?
Spencer, yeah, maybe some Shelby beer, but we can't say. But Spencer and I have enjoyed a good IPA together, and he's a home brewer, of course. But this show is about Volvo, their comeback, their second chance, and their second chance to become a luxury brand. BJ Killeen, you have an XC90 T8 outside that you drove here today.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this vehicle.
Let me qualify this, because last week I drove the XC60, and the XC60 is their mid-size luxury crossover, SUV, whatever you want to call it, and this is their full size. This is the 7-passenger, 3-row, and the other one was the 2-row. Right. Now, the XC60, I drove it when it first came out 8 years ago. So this is not on, the XC60 was not on the new platform. It's not, and it was like driving a vehicle that was maybe 30 years old. It had none of the features. It had safety, obviously. It did have the Drive-E engine, which was nice. But the rest of the vehicle, we were talking earlier about the Camaro, this one has the door sills that were up here, so you feel like you're sitting in a hole. It had the seat belts the way Volvo used to do them. If you remember the height adjusters, it was just a slit because they wanted to decide where the seat belt was going to go and not you. Very old technology. And it's like stepping from the 1970s into the 21st century, going from that vehicle to this vehicle.
The last time I tested Volvo was 2012, and they were behind.
Yes, way behind.
They were in the dark zone.
Yes, they were.
The Badlands.
Yes, they were.
But later that year, in 2012, they announced this new XC90 coming, that they were going to revise it. And everybody approached that with some degree of skepticism, didn't they?
Yep.
What did they get?
So they came up with the scalable product architecture, and I happened to have been invited to their design center up in Camarillo, and we saw sketches of this vehicle, and so we knew they were on the right track. So this XC90, and there's a T6 and then there's a T8, and the T6 is the gas and the T8 is the plug-in hybrid model, which, by the way, is the world's first plug-in hybrid full-size SUV, which I know is kind of a long title, but anytime you can claim world's first people love it. So there are 3 trim levels for the vehicle. There's Momentum, Inscription, and R Design. So it's kind of interesting that they're going to names, even though they have the alphanumeric. But the Inscription is the model that I was driving, and I was driving the T8, which was the all-wheel drive plug-in hybrid version. And because they had to drive it up from Los Angeles for me, obviously it was out of the plug-in power, and we haven't plugged it in yet, but because when you start up in hybrid mode, you can actually cruise around for a little bit in hybrid mode without the engine. Without the engine actually kicking on. So you can see down there, you're getting 170 miles to the gallon, you're getting 150 miles to the gallon. And I've been watching the gas tank, and it hasn't moved. It's amazing how it just stays at the halfway point because they used a half a tank coming up. But when they talk about performance, they weren't kidding, because on this vehicle, they have stepped it up. It's still the 2-liter turbocharged and supercharged direct injection, 400 horsepower and 472 pound-feet of torque. I mean, you are not kidding here with this vehicle. Where Russell said before that the gas ones have about 300 horsepower and a little over 300 and just under 300 for the torque in this vehicle. But it's impressive because, obviously with hybrid engines, when you have the battery power going and you step on it, you're getting torque right away. So right off the line, this vehicle is really, really fast. But then you get up to speed and you let the turbochargers kick in and you're having a great time. And what's really nice is you don't hear the supercharger whine. You don't hear any turbocharger whine. You have a very quiet cabin. It's an extremely refined ride. The vehicle handles very well. It's just, you don't feel any bumps. It has different drive modes. If you wanted to step up to performance drive, you can do it, or you can have a comfort ride. It is absolutely amazing is the best way I can describe this.
Talk about the air suspension for a second. I found that to be very
okay, so the air suspension is kind of cool because it's not a standard feature. You can upgrade to the air suspension, but you can set it up for different ways because SUV's kind of high, and they have like an entry mode. So with the air suspension, you can set it to actually come down. So when you get in and out of the vehicle, it's a lot easier to get in and out of the vehicle. And when you're going off-roading with all-wheel drive, and not that you're doing serious off-roading with an $85,000 vehicle as tested. The base price
why not? Go ahead.
The base price is $68,000. Yeah, so most people that are driving luxury SUVs that are all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, the biggest they're going to hit is a little puddle going to the supermarket, right? And that's about it. But the fact that you can raise it up, I think about a little over an inch, so you can raise it up if you have to go over, any rough terrain or anything like that. And then when you go to speed, it'll automatically drop down to give you better ground effects and better handling, aerodynamics. Sure. Yeah, so it's incredibly impressive. So they've got the performance dial. There's no question. The luxury, that's the one area you were concerned with because we were talking about it earlier, how you have to be very competitive. And this vehicle inside is stunning. They've got this beautiful, what they call linear wood. It's a natural wood finish. They have the Orreforce crystal on the shift lever, which is stunning. And Orreforce is because it's Swedish based, and they have an Orreforce, their factory in Sweden is Orreforce. So it's beautiful. The leather is supple. It's comfortable. The seats adjust to the side. They have thigh extensions on the seat. The back seat is as comfortable as the front seat. There's plenty of cargo capacity. I just can't speak enough good things about this vehicle. And you get in and you understand why it's won so many awards. And I've previously driven this vehicle, and we didn't talk about safety, which is interesting because in past, all you would talk about with Volvo would be safety. That was brand. That was it. But they haven't thrown safety aside because of this. The safety in this vehicle is impressive with things that they're doing, pedestrian detection and large animal detection, and the fact that it can auto brake, and the fact that it's semi-autonomous, which means you can be driving down the road, set the cruise control, it'll actually maintain the distance of the vehicle in front of you, include coming to a full stop, and you can even take your hands off the steering wheel for a certain amount of time. At some point it'll say, put your hands back on the steering wheel. And this is all low-speed driving. We're not talking high-speed driving. But the city safety is there, and every safety feature you can imagine is on the new XC90, which is just amazing.
That's key to this brand. I mean, you've got a lot of folks that love Volvos. I mean, my brother-in-law's father would only buy a Volvo, period. It doesn't matter what it looks like, the brick style that they used to have. He bought those. He just always buys a Volvo. But what he wants more than anything is that safety side of it, because it's almost a prestigious thing. It doesn't matter about miles per gallon, doesn't matter about any of this other stuff. As long as he can tout, whatever the safety requirements are, that is a big deal with Volvo. And I think it's big for the brand, for those who love Volvo in its previous iteration and now.
I can't let a Volvo show go by without saying something that Volvo has stood for, and something that they're standing up and saying that nobody else is saying. And Volvo is saying, by 2020, no one will be killed or seriously injured in a new Volvo vehicle. And that's an amazing statement. It gives me chills just saying it. And I think if anybody's going to accomplish it, it's going to be them. Spencer?
And also, let's not forget, we were talking about this shift to performance from Volvo, but performance is a safety feature.
You bet. Very good point.
Nicely put, Spencer. A couple of things caught my eye. the open stitching is on the leather seats. The stitching is there. It's redundant stitching if you look at it very, very closely. It doesn't really hold the seat together.
Right.
It's there to suggest quality, hand craftsmanship, and so forth. But something just as silly as in the very back of the vehicle, chrome fold-away tie-downs, so that if you needed to tie something into the storage area, these little chrome fold-away tabs that allow for tie-downs to be hooked to. A little item like that. Now, that would get crossed off the list in a Suburban, or in a
don't need it.
Don't need it. Sorry, not going to pay for that. Sorry, I'm sorry. Does that add an extra $10 to the vehicle? But in a Volvo, it was something that you were expected to find, and I found it. No one touts it. It's there.
I bet there's a couple things you didn't find.
Like
a little Easter egg that has on the seatbelt since 1959. You probably didn't see that.
Oh, that's cool.
And I don't know if it's on this car, but I know they're doing it on a lot of Volvos. The little seat tags on the leather, it's a little Swedish flag. So a lot of manufacturers are putting little Easter eggs in their vehicles. It shows you that Volvo, Swedes have a very good sense of humor. I think it's the aquavit that they drink, but they do have a very good sense of humor. The fact that they're keeping it in the luxury vehicles, to me, shows that, we haven't lost who we are about Volvo. As a matter of fact, we're just enhancing what we're all about. So,
okay, we have 2 minutes left in this show. Is Volvo going to survive with this strategy? $11 billion in new products. Cam? Do you think Volvo can survive, or is it going to take another decade for them to dig them out of their dark place?
No, I think that if they, we talked about the things that are part of this experience. You're talking about the dealership experience and making sure that the vehicle is a quality vehicle. It's not going back to the dealership on a regular basis. I think all those things will key into this deal, but I think they'll make it. I do. I'd rather be on the positive side than the negative, because I do like their products, and I think that their safety engineering is brilliant.
BJ, are the dealers showing some strength? Is the dealership network as strong as this brand new product?
I think that they're getting there. They're training them to understand what the luxury is about. They're training them to understand what needs to be done to sell these cars in the future. I think if Volvo's going to falter anywhere, it's going to be that they don't have enough production, like that Russell alluded to, because everything caught them by surprise. How popular the vehicle is, how they're selling the higher end models a little bit more, and how many they're going to need. So I'm glad that they're building a plant in South Carolina to supply, because that's going to be their biggest problem, which is a good problem to have, isn't it?
Absolutely, and if the media gets behind it,
and they are,
and they have. Funny about luxury, you can't just walk into a room and say, I'm a luxury brand. You have to bring luxury to your brand. And that they have done. It's a very impressive vehicle.
And hard to do.
And expensive as well. It is expensive.
Yep, it is. Spencer, did you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to say I'm proud of Volvo for being brave with things like the crystal handle. That's so cool. And if they keep making those strides and keep pumping out good product, good product is good product.
You're right. Absolutely.
It is. I hope all the numbers line up. There's a lot of money at stake.
You bet.
And very, very few car companies have ever gotten a second chance the way they are working this second chance through. Congratulations. Thanks for letting me drive the car, BJ.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us again this week. Cam Benty, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Very much appreciate your input. For all of us at Drivers Talk, we want to wish you open roads and safe motoring. See you next week.